Hello, beautiful star seeds. Please enjoy this video provided by Gaia TV. If you want to know more about my partnership and interviews with Gaia, please check out the links in the description below and enjoy. The Galactic Federation of Light is kind of like a universal governance system filled with many different species from all over the universe.
Couldn't the Galactic Federation just wave their magic wand and say, I want all these conflicts to go away?
It is not up to the Galactic Federation to come down and save us because we are on our own path collectively.
What do they want for us?
They want to get rid of any external influences on planet Earth. They want to disclose all of the truth, all of the information about the universe, about interdimensional life. And they want to really see what humans will do with that.
Well, we've got a great show for you today. Elizabeth April with us, channeling the Galactic Federation of Light, and she's also an intuitive psychic. Elizabeth, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me here.
What is the Galactic Federation of Light?
So the Galactic Federation of Light, I akin it to the UN, of the planet, maybe a little less corrupt. So it's basically...
Or a lot less corrupt,
A lot less corrupt, absolutely. So it's kind of like a universal governance system filled with many different species from all over the universe who really want to come together for unity. And so they've been involved with planetary agendas and planetary things for quite some time. And they really oversee all of the different planets and civilizations all around the universe to really help with the unity in the universe as well.
Do they have clout?
I would say that they do. They do have, a force behind them just because there's so many different beings who are involved in the Galactic Federation.
Right.
So they do have clout in the universe, yes.
When you realized you had extrasensory abilities, how old were you?
Yeah, so my parents say that I was around 2 years old when they noticed that I was, I guess, talking to things and seeing things and interacting with things that they couldn't see and interact with. And so a lot of that for me was clairvoyance. So a lot of seeing things that other people couldn't see. Mediumship, seeing different spirits and entities in the room, but also seeing auras and chakras from a young age as well.
Did it come easy to you, or was it difficult?
It was very easy to tap into that world, but it was very difficult to balance that world with this world.
And convey it to others?
And convey it to others. I thought what I was experiencing was very normal at that point in time until I got into elementary school, until I was the weird kid, until I realized that.
Did you tell your friends about this?
I absolutely did. Yeah, I told them about everything I was experiencing. I would...
Mommy, Elizabeth was abducted.
Yeah, and I would go over to my friend's house at the age of 6 and say, oh, well, it's so nice that your grandfather's visiting. Not knowing that he actually passed 3 years prior.
Yeah.
And so that was a little weird, and created some different situations for me at that time.
Now, you had an alien abduction case?
I do, yes.
What happened?
So my first conscious abduction, and I say that for a reason, because this was the first time that I was fully aware of the abduction experience, happened at 18 years old.
All right.
And I went away to a 10-day silent meditation retreat called Vipassana. And on the second night of meditation, I was abducted by interdimensionals. And we would kind of describe them as tall whites, the tall white beings.
Sure.
Plainly so, because they're very tall and very white, almost to the point where they're transparent. And
almost ghostly looking?
Very ghostly looking, yeah. And creepy, actually, creepy looking. And so that was a very fear-based abduction experience, but it opened that can of worms for me. Oh my goodness, not only, are interdimensionals real, but they're here and they're interacting with us. And so that really opened that can of worms for me to question this reality even deeper. Who are they? Why are they here? And who are we as human beings? And why are they interacting with us at this time?
Were they from other planetary systems or within our own existence?
Definitely off-world, but I really believe that that species in particular has a lot to do with government, in a maybe a not so good way. But I don't know too much about the tall whites myself, other than that small interaction that I did have with them.
Did they harm you, or were you scared with
I
what
was
you
definitely,
can remember?
I was very scared. Yeah, I was
Don't blame
just
you.
because I was so thrown out of my element. And they weren't a very beautiful, loving species either, so it wasn't a compassionate abduction experience. And so what they did when they took me is they actually put something in my right ear. And I
An
remember,
implant?
basically, yeah, exactly. And it was basically a tracking device. And after they put me back into my bed, I felt like I wasn't able to remote view anymore. I felt like I wasn't able to astral travel or to tap into these other realms. Because in my mind, I felt like maybe if I left my body, they would come back into my body, and maybe that was
Sure.
why that they were tracking me. So I really had no idea, what they put in or why they were wanting to track me at that time.
Is the implant still in you?
No, I went to a medical medium, and she was able to pick up on it right away, and she did kind of her energetic magic, and she was able to disconnect it from my energy system. And I had a lot of weird ear drainage afterwards.
Yeah.
But other than that, I immediately felt like that heaviness and that feeling of being watched was lifted right after I saw this medical medium.
Whitley Strieber, the author of Communion, has an implant near his ear in the back, and he doesn't want to have it removed. He thinks it's a connection with his late wife that they implanted in him. But Dr. Roger Lear, Elizabeth, who used to remove implants from people, he's not with us anymore. But he invited me to a surgical event where a lady had an implant in her cheek. And every time they tried to grab it with the little tweezers, and they had her slit a little bit, it would move.
Wow.
It escaped.
Wow.
And he had to stop or he'd mutilate her face.
Right.
So he said, I couldn't just keep poking away at her. And she probably still has it. These probably tracking devices like you had.
I believe some are good and some are bad, just like everything in the universe. There's that binary.
A lot of people have talked about alien abduction cases. One was Lori McDonald, who talked with us about her situation. Do you continue to have these experiences?
I do, actually, but they're different now. Now I feel that my consciousness has expanded, and I no longer look at the phenomena the same way. I think that any interaction with a UFO or an alien isn't so much about them, that it's more about the human experience. It sort of knocked on the door of my consciousness and allowed me to see that I was more than what I thought, and that it opened the door to multidimensionality, that the soul itself is multidimensional. And I came to some conclusions that some of the hybridization programs, and particularly with the gray human, were to hijack our ascension, to hijack our ability to move through space and time without a body. And because I've had so many out-of-body experiences, I've been a meditator for over 40 years. I've had out-of-body experiences. I spent 5 years at a Buddhist temple, learned more about extraterrestrials and other worlds than the 1,000 cases that I've worked. But I went there initially because I was continuously having an out-of-body experience. Every time I would relax, I'd pop right out of my body and I could see me. And so what did that tell me? It told me that I was still Noory without the vessel.
What did you think of that, Liz?
I definitely agree with a lot of that. I believe that we are multidimensional beings, and I believe that we are here to fully express that DNA and express that multidimensionality. And I truly believe that everyone is psychic, everyone has clairvoyant abilities, and this world is too distracting for most people to really be able to tap in to those abilities.
Now, your case, your abduction case, just happened one time? Or do you think it's ongoing?
So since then, I've had many physical interactions with different interdimensional beings, and then I've had many more astral and remote interactions with different interdimensional beings for very specific purposes as well.
Did you ever wonder why you? Does that ever come up?
I think in the past, when there was a lot of bullying and there was a lot of hardships around those kind of abilities, there was a lot of questions of like, why do I have to suffer with being different? But nowadays, I really feel like there is no question of why me, because I don't feel special. I feel like I'm here to just be a guide for other people into their own power and abilities.
Are you helping other people now?
I believe so. I'd like to believe so. Yeah.
And I mean, do you see clients? How do you work?
Yeah, so I used to have a lot of clients from all over the world, and that was really beautiful, but I was really confined to one person at one time.
Sure.
So now I like to teach in groups. I have courses that I teach, and then I also have, my own censorship-free membership platform, which is incredible. I'm also writing books as well, which helps tons of people all over the world, and I don't necessarily have to show up every single time to help them.
Are you hopeful for the future of our planet?
Oh, I am so hopeful. Some people call me an over-optimist.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and not an over-optimist in the way that I'm ignorant to some of the dark.
Or naive.
Or naive to some of the dark, shadowy aspects of this reality. Because I've been there, I've seen it, I've experienced it. But ultimately, upon observing the dynamics on this planet, I really, truly believe we are ascending, we are raising our vibration. I believe that people are waking up and that there is a consciousness that is starting to, sprout within humanity that is helping us get to this next level of spiritual and physical evolution.
How many people do you think there are like you on this planet?
I believe every person on the planet can get to the place where I'm at with the abilities that I've experienced. I believe everyone can do that.
Without training?
There's definitely training involved.
There is.
Yes.
That you need that.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about the Galactic Federation in the beginning. Do you like them?
I do. Yeah, I do. And once again, not in a naive way. I believe that any organization all throughout the universe is not without its own faults. Because ultimately, every being who is a part of an organization like the Galactic Federation is on their own journey and their own mission of self-discovery and learning, right? So it doesn't mean that, they're perfect in any regard, but I do truly believe in their mission to unify the polarity in the universe and to make sure that every being has a fighting chance.
Elizabeth, how do we get you on the Galactic Federation? Is that conceivable? Is that possible?
You mean how do you get me on the ship?
How do I get you to be a member?
Yeah, I believe that there's actually a lot of Galactic Federation alumni or members who have chosen to incarnate as human bodies and who are on this planet as human beings.
Can you be on this board, basically?
Absolutely, yeah. So I believe that in so many ways I'm a conduit for the information from the Galactic Federation, but I believe that there are so many individuals on this planet who are also in direct or indirect contact with the Galactic Federation who are helping unify this planet as well.
I've always heard that there's this unwritten rule in the universe where they cannot get involved. That they cannot influence us.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So the Galactic Federation has to abide by the laws of the universe. And one of the greatest laws that they always teach me about is the law of non-intervention. So that's basically what you're talking about.
Right.
And the law of non-intervention just simply states that no being can override another being's free will. Free will is the greatest power that we all have within ourselves, whether on
But if an asteroid were coming this way, they couldn't intercede and bump it out?
Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. There are collective contracts for this planet. So just like I have a contract to be sitting here with you today, and that's all predestined based on what we planned for this lifetime, the collective of this planet also has contracts that were predestined.
Sure.
And so in that case, if something were to take place that was not in alignment with the highest good of the collective, then that is a case where it would go to one of the councils with the Galactic Federation, They would have to talk it over and basically decide, do we intervene or not? And if we do intervene, what kind of effects is this going to make long-term for the planet? And is this aligned to their highest contracts? And that's where a lot of human beings don't fully understand, why would God, why would the Galactic Federation allow for so much suffering on this planet? And that's a question that I get asked all the time. And my response to that is, I believe that suffering or challenge, whether it be at an individual or collective level, needs to be experienced in order for learning and growth to take place.
We've been through a lot over the last several years as a planet, more so than I can remember.
Yeah.
And it seems to be coming at us from all different angles all the time. Studies are showing that people have massive anxiety, they're under huge stress. Couldn't the Galactic Federation just wave their magic wand and say, I want all these diseases to go away, I want all these conflicts to go away? Why don't they do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are a lot of solutions that they have in the form of different technologies, even DNA technologies or genetic technologies that they could very easily bring to planet Earth. I know there's a lot of people on planet Earth who are conduits of that information that are bringing that technology to planet Earth. But unfortunately, this planet has been so controlled, so suppressed by, say, the powers that be, that technology has not been allowed to be released. So that's kind of what's happening right now is there's this really huge battle that's taking place on the planet between the good forces, the bad forces, the light, the dark. And so we're seeing the shift take place finally. We're seeing a little bit more room and movement for these solutions to come in, but it is not up to the Galactic Federation to come down and save us because we are on our own path collectively.
It's our choice.
Yes.
It's our destiny.
Yes.
They meet sometimes all over the universe, don't they, including the moon?
Yes.
What do they do there?
Yeah, so my very first meeting with the Galactic Federation happened back in 2011, and this was shortly after my first abduction experience with the tall whites, and so that's the can of worm that opened for me. And I was greeted in my living room by a really beautiful 7-foot-tall astral being of a Palladian man. And he came through my wall and he said, Elizabeth, in 2 days' time, there's going to be a meeting. And it's going to happen at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which was my time zone.
Sure.
And he said, you have to be awake for this. And that's all he said. And I said, what? Okay, this is crazy, All right, I'll do it.
You should be up listening to my radio show anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so 2 days later, it was December 21st, 2011. I, woke up at 1 a.m. I chugged back a huge coffee. I was in university at the time, so I wasn't, I was very used to pulling all-nighters. And I started to meditate, and at 2 a.m. on the dot, this Palladian man came back into my room, and he said, okay, follow me. And I wasn't sure at that time if it was going to be physical, if it was going to be non-physical, but I was very used to remote viewing, astral traveling at that point. So when he left the room in a non-physical body, I knew that I needed to follow him in my non-physical body, my astral body. So I follow him, and we go out and further away from the planet. And it was my first time actually astral traveling, remote viewing off the planet. I didn't even know that was possible. I remember looking back at the planet thinking how beautiful it was. And so we go farther and farther, and he's going to the moon. And so I'm like, oh, cool, we're going to have this meeting, on the moon. And instead of going to some sort of base or building on the moon, he goes right into the moon. And to my knowledge, apparently, the moon is actually hollow, and it is being used as a Galactic Federation headquarters of sorts. And this is where there were hundreds of thousands of beings who were all inside this room in the moon. And this is where I was taught about what's taking place on planet Earth, who the human beings are, and who the Galactic Federation was.
Dr. Robert Wood had a chance to talk with our Emery Smith on the Gaia show Cosmic Disclosure about what you've just said.
Wow.
A hollow moon.
There are facilities on the moon that a lot of the governments use to have meeting places just in a safe remote view area on the inner part of the moon. Now, the moon is something that various researchers and scientists have like discussed in terms of it being natural versus something, that was created by technology. Bob, has Bill ever spoke to you about, targeting the moon as a place for remote viewing?
He would tell me about his experiences of his life, and once in a while, remote viewing would be involved, as we've discussed. But when he told me about the moon, he didn't say he got it from remote viewing. He just told me factually. He said, oh, by the way, that the moon is hollow and it's not ours, and that somebody else put it up. And these things I had heard of before.
It seems to go back and forth with the scientists and researchers saying the moon is real, the moon is fake. We have a great video here with Bill talking about that. Let's take a look at it.
Good.
Well, first of all, it's not your moon. And secondly, it's not a moon. It's a command center for a region of this part of the Milky Way galaxy. Okay? That's what it is. And it doesn't rotate. Everybody forgets the thing doesn't turn. Okay? So it's not a moon. It's not your moon. It's a command center with probably 25 to 35 different civilizations in there, all of which operate out here for this part of the Milky Way galaxy. And yes, some of those people actually are at war with each other, but they have personnel living here. Their families live here. The kids are getting educated. They get young, they get older, they get married. It's a big hunk. It's a big facility.
Would you agree with that, Elizabeth?
Wow.
Kind of echoes what you just said.
I had no idea anyone else has ever said that. So that's pretty cool. I only know what I remote view. So that's great validation. Yeah. That
You
resonates.
agree with him?
I do. Yeah, that resonates a lot.
They have meetings, they have,
Yep.
It's a base, it's
Command
not
center.
real.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
bizarre, isn't it?
It is bizarre.
How come you are part of these meetings?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I think that I chose to come to this planet specifically for a reason, to help humanity through this very tumultuous time. So I know that I came here for a reason. And I believe that there are a lot of individuals like me who came here for a reason to help humanity through this difficult time.
That's amazing. Have you ever felt scared doing this?
Yes. Yeah. When I
How so?
first started getting into remote viewing and astral traveling, I would go to a lot of military bases on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And I was really curious. I mean, what are they doing in these underground military bases, top secret? And a fun story, in one of the times when I explored actually the base in Antarctica, they had psychic soldiers. So when I remote view, I'm never usually seen by humans or soldiers.
But they can see you.
So they had these soldiers who were also remote viewing the base, I guess to protect it from remote viewers like me. And this one ended up seeing that I was, going through the halls of this Antarctic base, and he went like this, and he kicked me all the way out of the base, and he proceeded to follow me to figure out who I was, if I was belonging to a government.
Why are you here? Right?
Exactly. And so I had to kind of pop in and out of many different locations to kind of lose him. But that, there's been some moments very similar to that have freaked me out a little bit, where I'm like, ooh, I got into a position where I shouldn't have been.
Do you feel special because of this?
No, not at all. I feel like I've tapped into something that everyone can tap into. Like, I truly believe that human beings have many different facets. And at a physical level, I believe we have DNA within us that is completely untapped. And I believe that with the right vibrational level, we can tap in and unlock that DNA and step into everything that I've been able to experience, I believe everyone can experience.
In these meetings of the Galactic Federation, are there arguments? Are they screaming at each other?
No, definitely there's not a lot of anger or animosity within those meetings or those councils, but absolutely there are disagreements. And disagreements, rightfully so, because the decisions that they're making in relation to planet Earth, and once again, intervention or non-intervention, they are massive decisions that will really change the trajectory of planet Earth and the human beings on Earth.
What do they want for us, Elizabeth?
That's a good question. They want human beings to be free. That is the end goal. And what's happened since the dawning of human history is we haven't been free. We've been very manipulated and very taken down pathways that have not been through our own volition or our own conscious awareness. And so what they want to do is they want to get rid of any external influences on planet Earth. They want to disclose all of the truth, all of the information about the universe, about interdimensional life. And they want to really see what humans will do with that and where we can go with that newfound freedom and that free will.
Are we getting there?
I believe that we are. Right now, humanity as a collective is making a choice. Who do we want to belong with?
Right.
What contracts do we want to sign? And because we haven't had our full freedom and because we haven't been accessing our full free will, we actually don't know what we want collectively.
Is there good and bad that we have to pick from?
Exactly. And as a human being, I believe that we are this giant experiment. I believe that human beings have been manipulated within our DNA throughout human history. From what the Galactic Federation has told me, humans are basically a giant peace treaty. So we have some of the highest vibrational interdimensional beings' DNA within us.
Or we're a petri dish.
Exactly. We're a giant experiment, but also a peace treaty. And we have some of the lowest vibrational DNA within us. And it's up to us to choose. And for many, many millennia out there in the universe, there have been peace treaties that have been signed by the darkest and the highest vibrational beings. And they've never worked. And so now they're thinking, if we have this living, breathing, walking, talking peace treaty as the children of these beings, then maybe we can get somewhere. So it's up to us as a human race to choose, do we want to go to the highest vibration or do we want to work with the lowest vibration? And that's up to us to choose.
And let's put it in perspective, how the Galactic Federation might have come into being that was on cosmic disclosure.
How did this federation come to be?
So there's only one requirement for membership. And I have to clarify that this is not a coherent, official, democratic organization. It is a mindset being. And that means an individual or a collective has to make themselves dedicated to the idea of a harmonious, one being universe that has several individual and diverse properties, but it is all oriented towards this unification process of the universe. And you don't even have to know about this federation. So once an individual takes the decision that they want to commit themselves to this wonderful one being harmonious context, they automatically will be drawn into this mindset being, because the end result is still in a process, which means we know we are on this process and it will 100% turn out great. But the way it turns out and it's played out is still up to the individual responsibilities of everyone.
What's amazing, how many people understand what this federation is all about?
I mean, just like what was said, all you have to understand is unity, right? And I think a lot of people initially believe that the Galactic Federation is only about light and only about love and only about pure source consciousness. And as a matter of fact, they are just about bringing harmony towards high vibration and low vibration, good and bad. It's not about a choice between either. It's about finding the harmony and the unity and the oneness within both.
And are they doing a good job doing that?
I think they are. I really do. I think that they are really beautiful guides for us. But I do always caution to say that, it's important to question everything. And it's important to use our own discernment. And it's really important to understand that even the Galactic Federation aren't the end all to be all of the universe, but they're really great guides to get us to that place where we want to be.
Have any of the members gone rogue where they tried to get involved by themselves to do something that they shouldn't?
Yes, yes.
I knew it.
There's actually a great example that I just channeled a couple months ago, and it was the Yael species on planet Earth. They're very humanoid, and they went rogue, I think back in the 80s, but it's a very famous event, and it was the Phoenix Lights.
Oh, sure, 1997.
There you go. That was never supposed to happen. That was not contracted in humanity's plan.
Whoa.
That was an individual species that was a part of the Galactic Federation that went rogue, that really truly believed and felt like if they just exposed themselves, if they just showed the world.
So they wanted all these people to see this.
They
right?
wanted all of these people to see it, and they thought that deep down these people would wake up and move into a higher vibration.
They didn't wake up.
Exactly.
A few people did.
Exactly.
But not a lot.
And so that's why it wasn't contracted. Humanity wasn't at a place to accept that at that time.
How do you connect with the Federation? How do you do it now?
Yeah, so I connect through remote viewing and astral traveling. It doesn't take me
Dreams?
long. No, not necessarily.
dreams.
Usually I'm very conscious. It's just a matter of me closing my physical eyes, opening my third eye, leaving my body, going up to the giant Galactic Federation mothership, and consulting with many different councils that they have up
Are
there.
you there, Elizabeth, physically, or are you there psychically?
Remotely, yeah, in my astral body. Sometimes I'll go up physically, but it takes a lot of time and energy and effort on their part as well as my part to get up there. So it's more so astral and remote.
Do they have names?
Yes, they do, yeah.
They are?
Well, there's many different councils. So one of the councils that I love consulting is the Octurian Timeline Council.
No, I mean the individual Federation members. Do
Yes,
they have names?
they
Like
all-
Elizabeth has
Yes,
one?
they have names. Yeah, one of the Octurians, a part of the Timeline Council. His name is G, just
G?
like the letter. Yeah, G. He said that his name in light language was so extreme that there was only one letter he could translate it into in the English alphabet. And then there's another member of the Palladian Security Council, and his name is Kinetic, spelt with a K. So a lot of the times the names are translated from light language or their language, and a lot of the times the names are chosen by them that are just kind of English names that we could relate to.
Have you ever seen temper from them?
I
Emotion?
have not seen temper. I have definitely seen emotion. There have been a couple of times where I go up to the ship and it's just everyone's in chaos, and there's a timeline that planet Earth entered into that was not supposed to be, I guess, in the predictions or in the...
Did you see concern on them, on their faces?
Absolutely, yeah. Most of them do have emotion. The problem with humans interacting with them at a physical level is when you're in your physical body, a lot of the beings don't show emotion on their face. So instead of smiling or laughing or an expression of concern, it's an energy that they hold. So unless you're tapped in telepathically or you're tapped into their remote body, we won't be able to actually feel what they're going through at an emotional level.
Do they argue amongst each other?
They don't necessarily argue, but they don't always agree. Now, typically, I would say 80-90% of the time, all council members are in agreement with, what needs to be done moving forward. And every once in a while, I'll definitely see some heated conversations between council members, once again, with what to do.
Do they have a message for us, Elizabeth? Is there some guiding force statement they want us to know?
Yes, there is.
And that would be?
And that would be that everything that is taking place on planet Earth right now at this time is happening for a reason.
Always has, I think.
It always has, but specifically right now, because there's so much animosity, there's so much war, there's so much polarity that we're seeing and experiencing and feeling as empaths. And hatred and polarity. And so they really need us to know that what's happening and taking place is the dismantlement of the old Earth. It's the breaking down of the old 3D system to really build back up this new system that we're going to have in place. So that means that we need to break down the political system, we need to break down the financial system, we need to break down the religious and educational systems in order to clear space for a new unified system to really take place on planet Earth.
Knowing what you know about the Federation, about the planet, about the universe, are you happy about this? Are you excited about it, our future?
I'm beyond excited. Actually, when 2020 happened, I was probably the most excited person that you would ever talk to.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly because it was finally here. It was finally happening. Something that was affecting every single person in the entire world, that was shifting them out of the matrix, that was forcing them to question, that was getting them out of that 9-to-5 position so that they had the space and the room and the time to question this reality and essentially wake up. And I believe that that's what we've been witnessing ever since 2020.
In spite of everything we've been through,
Yeah.
you think it's still going to get better?
In fact, because of everything that we've been through, I believe that we are well on our way, well on track for unity consciousness on planet Earth. But I do believe that it will get worse before it gets better. And I've been saying that since 2020 as well.
What kind of people are we to be able to sustain this and keep going, in your opinion?
In my opinion, we are extremely powerful, beyond words, beyond comprehension, beyond my own comprehension. I believe that we have access to many different traits and abilities that will get us through this. And I believe without reason or doubt that we have the strength to persevere.
Do you believe in God?
I believe in a different word for God, but yes, I believe in a consciousness, a higher power, a source, I like to call it.
A divine creator?
Divine creator, yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah. I do believe in that.
And why don't you accept the word God?
I was raised Catholic, so there was a lot of questioning that I did around Catholicism and a lot of understanding of genocide and pain and murder that has happened underneath the word God. And so I think I have a little bit of resentment towards that word just because of the heaviness that it has created in the past.
In a booming stock market, they call it a bullish time. Mm-hmm. When it's bad, they call it bearish. Are we bullish or bearish?
I would say we're a little bit of both right now. It's a very uncertain time to people who are not fully tapped in, and a very certain time for people who are.
Could it go either way?
I think many years ago it could have. But these days, I do believe that we are well on our way to a higher vibrational frequency for our future.
Matheus de Stefano, of course, talks about the Galactic Federation often and also trying to help us from some kind of massive galactic war.
So imagine the wars we have today here as just one planet, but now imagine it in a bigger way in the whole galaxy. What they are trying to prevent from the future and the past is that we today reach a path to within so we can heal the separation of every race, and then we can heal the Orion's war. And not to look the energy outside of us, but to look God within. This war that is being held in these 3 times in the 4th dimension is calling us from every dimension to be prepared ourselves, not to live it. That's why a lot of people is receiving information and data from other levels of consciousness, from Pleiadian people, Syrian people, Arcturian people, to prepare ourselves in our bodies, souls, and spirit, so we could be centered, to love each other, to reunite each other, to go through the portals of the 9th dimension from within. So in such a way, we prevent the war to happen again in the future. Then, when we stop the wars in our planet, so we create a fractal of this reality towards every other dimension. So if we do it well, if we do it properly in this planet, it will be like a seed to show to many other beings in other planets that it is possible to be harmonious with the universe. Our job here is to remember that we are every perspective, and that the only way you can achieve the 9th and the 8th dimension is from within. That's why we need to know about all these people, intelligent beings around the universe, and why it's important to understand our role in the War of Orion. We are the seed that can heal the war in between every dimension.
He's obviously tapped into something, Elizabeth, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And those are all the same messages that I've received from the Galactic Federation as well, is that if we find peace and unity here on this planet, then we amplify that peace and unity to the rest of the universe.
What could be the most important message they want us to grasp?
Well, if you're open to it, I can always tap in and get information in real time.
Then how do you do that?
So once again, it's just a matter of me closing my eyes, opening my third eye, remote viewing over to the ship, and just asking one of the councils if there's anything that they want to share today.
Is the ship constantly out there?
Yeah, so it actually hangs out in our solar system, just outside of Earth's atmosphere, and it's always cloaked, but it's massive, and that's typically where I go to receive information.
All right, go for it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. 1 second. Okay. Okay, great. So I went over to my favorite council within the Galactic Federation, who is the Palladian Security Council. Consists of about 8 Palladian beings. And the one being that I mentioned before, Kinetic, he's kind of the leader, but not so much, of that council. So I asked him, I said, Kinetic, what does humanity need to know right now at this time? Now, typically, he will give me messages for the collective in a very visual way, like almost like a metaphorical way. And I think the reason why he does that is because it can be interpreted in a variety of different ways. So this is the image that he gave me. He gave me this image of a huge ocean, okay? And one person, that's just a generic person representing every person. And they're on this tiny little boat, this like tiny little rowboat, in this huge wide ocean. And the ocean is stormy and tumultuous and these huge waves. And all of a sudden, this little tiny boat starts to raise above all of the waves. And there's a stormy sea going on below the boat, but the boat is completely unaffected by the storm. And the message that he was trying to relay with that image is that we're in the middle of the storm. We're in the middle of polarity. We're in the middle of this changing energy on planet Earth. And it is tumultuous, and there is war, and there is a lot of different sides and angles and anger within the people. But it is up to us, it is our responsibility to raise ourselves above that polarity, to not necessarily protect ourselves from that, but to create our own reality in a higher vibration, to see above the storm. And we have the ability to do that. And as empaths, we get so stuck in the middle of all of the projection and the energy and the anger that's happening on the planet, that it is really up to us. It is our responsibility to let go of all of the projection, all of the distraction, all of the mass media and the questioning, and to really understand that appreciation and gratitude for what we do have and where we are at is what's going to raise our vibration above and beyond the lower densities on the planet. And when we can do that at an individual level, we are once again amplifying that unity, that peaceful, that oneness, that high vibrational frequency towards the rest of the planet. And that's what we can do to help. That's what we can do to give back at an individual level. It's not about yelling from the rooftops. It's not about, always saying or doing something. Sometimes it's just about going within, raising the vibration, letting go of all of the distraction, and showing through experience that we can get to a higher vibrational place even within the storm.
What a great message.
Yeah.
How do people find you?
Yeah, just ElizabethApril.com, and on all the social medias, Elizabeth April.
All right, thanks for being on Beyond
Thank
Belief.
you so much.
One day I would like to visit the Galactic Federation just to kind of watch and be a witness to something that is very, very universal. I'm George Noory. Thanks for watching Beyond Belief.
Hey again, Starseeds. I hope you really enjoyed that incredible interview. For more epic content, be sure to check out the links below and subscribe, like, and share this for more information. Until next time, I will see all of you in the fifth dimension frequency.